Hey, what's up, audience? It's the controversial quotes Trump broadcast. We are going to discuss Donald Trump, and I'm going to encourage him today to just release the Epstein files. I mean, I think that Trump should release the files in order to clear things up. I mean, I'm not sure, what exactly Trump has to hide. It seems to me uh, like, Donald Trump has had more of a, relationship with Jeffrey Epstein than he is likely to be proud of. Um, Hey, what's up, audience member? Feel free to comment in the chat. We are going to discuss. Did I watch the South Park episode about Trump? No, I haven't, but I heard that there was controversy over showing, the full Trump. I think that Trump is someone who is accustomed to getting lampooned, so I'm not sure that if it would really even bother him, the fact that he, appeared in his birthday suit in the South Park episode. Am I okay with it or upset? We live in America. America is a society wherein our public figures are lampooned and satirized every day. So I'm all for that. I believe that it's okay to lampoon the president. Um, you know, I mean, I'm not. I'm curious as to what happened with Jeffrey Epstein. It seems like there was a man who owned a $10 million or a $25 million island in the Caribbean that was financed through illegal activity. I mean, it doesn't seem to me like Jeffrey Epstein ever managed an investment firm. Where did he get his finances from? Um, I think that there's a lot more to the scandal than we will ever know, unfortunately. And Donald Trump better not. I hope that Donald Trump does not pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Um, on this channel, I've been complaining a lot about presidents pardoning the people who help them commit crimes in order to save themselves. You had before Joe Biden signed off, he pardoned Hunter Biden. I was thoroughly against the Hunter Biden pardon. I thought it was outrageous. I believe that there are, many people in jail, jails across America who committed the exact same crime of Hunter Biden, but they're not going to ever get out of jail because their daddy isn't the president. I was against Donald Trump pardoning the people who were responsible for storming the Capitol during the Capitol siege. I believe that when I don't believe the justice system is rigged in favor of a small group. I think that for the most part, the jail system is just in America. I'm sure that there are people in jail who are innocent. I think that's very unfortunate. I'm sure there are people in jails across America who are being overcharged, but that's the exception, not the rule. When you have, I think that the power of presidents to pardon criminals should be regulated. I'm very worried that Donald Trump is going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell in an attempt to silence her. I think that Ghislaine Maxwell might know a lot about Donald Trump's interactions with Jeffrey Epstein and how exactly their relationship worked. Um, it's clear that Elon Musk believed that the Epstein files were worth releasing. If you look at what Elon Musk said on X last week, you'll notice that apparently he saw the Epstein files and he believes there's more in them than Donald Trump would uh, admit to. Uh, Supposedly, Donald Trump was alerted that his name was discussed with the congressional delegation that went to go see Ghislaine Maxwell. Apparently, the Congress is giving Ghislaine Maxwell limited immunity to testify about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes in order to evade a prison sentence. I think that while I don't believe that Ghislaine Maxwell should get a pardon, I would support giving her immunity to testify about everything she knows. The problem is that Maxwell probably won't testify about everything she knows if given immunity. Maxwell is a very intelligent woman and will string the federal government along in order to get out of prison. Maxwell lived a privileged life throughout most of her existence, and I'm sure that she has money stashed somewhere in some safety deposit box that she could live off of. This is why something must be done, but she shouldn't get a pardon. If Trump pardons Ghislaine Maxwell, in order to shut her up, then I think that that would be the worst injustice. And as I say, I am in favor now of revoking the ability of presidents to give pardons, in order to protect themselves. I think that we need to have a constitutional amendment, you know, that would also protect, you know, that would also prevent governors from, commuting sentences of people who, you know, that that they want out of jail, for political reasons. The pardon system was designed to help people who were either overcharged or wrongfully convicted. But now in this say in the age of extreme polarization, the pardon system is being used for political reasons, and we need to rise up as citizens and put an end to that. Okay, so in other news, Donald Trump was able to strike a trade deal with Europe. We're going to spend 15% taxes on European goods. So when I buy a pair of Adidas shoes, I'm going to spend 15% more. But, that's not really that big of a deal because they're luxury shoes, and I could afford them. I mean, I'm against the tariffs. I think that they hurt people at the bottom of the ladder. They hurt people at the bottom of the economic ladder, and probably won't do anything in order to induce an industrial renaissance in the United States. I don't believe that Adidas is going to open up a shoe factory in America and produce their shoes Ultra Boosts here, in order to evade a 15% tariff. The tariff that Trump is placing on luxury cars will, have the effect of, I think, making rich people even richer, because now, in order to afford, a BMW, it's 15% more. People who buy Ferraris get on like a 2-year waiting list to get some entry level model. If you're purchasing a, you know, a, let's say a Ferrari that's above entry level, you're paying a 15% tariff is not going to dissuade you from buying a Ferrari and encourage you to buy a Chevrolet Corvette. I don't believe that Ferrari is going to open up a factory in America, to produce Ferraris in order to evade the tariffs. So I just am perplexed as to why Trump insists on having a 15% tariff on European goods. It seems like in order to induce an industrial renaissance in the United States, you would have to have tariffs that would be so high that you would destroy the economy. And yeah, I have a job, and one thing I notice at my job is how much workers don't like to show up. And I think workers in America would hate working in factories. I mean, if Trump insisted that uh, you know people work in factories, he would find that the factories would not have many workers because the line of work is so bad. Yeah, I'll be curious as to how Trump's tariffs go on Asia. I mean, even if Trump puts like a 20% tariff on DJI drones, it still won't induce me to purchase an American drone or camera, because the American drones, will be like more expensive. Anyway, yes, they're going to be way more expensive. 20% tariff on Chinese goods. It's well known that American drones from the company Skydio are so highly priced that they don't list them on the website. Yeah, if you go to Skydio and go to their website, you're going to notice that their drones cost, I think, like $5,000. It's like that with Anafi, the French drone company. Parrot makes drones that cost like $5,000, and it seems like they have the same capabilities you could get with a DJI drone that cost about $700. I mean, again, it's unfortunate that America doesn't have like a big manufacturing base. America's problem is that we're a country of great ideas, but we're not good at creating huge centers that employ people, that churn out high quality products in mass volume. It's like I'm thinking about purchasing a motorcycle, and I'm not looking towards Buell or Harley Davidson. I'm looking at Kawasaki and Aprilia. It seems like those companies churn out high quality goods at a low profit margin. The same American bike would cost me like twice as much. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is angry at Donald Trump over AI, and obviously I'm using an AI picture of Donald Trump as my clickbait. uh, Marjorie Taylor Greene does not like the fact that AI data centers consume massive amounts of water. I agree with her on that. I mean, I think that AI, it's absolutely essential that America takes the lead in AI. I believe it's essential that America takes the lead in AI in order to make sure that the AI that Americans use doesn't come with foreign propaganda. We see that. My point is that yeah, get your AI from American companies, not from China, not from data centers that are based in China, the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia or India. I everybody AI is a craze in America. And one unfortunate thing about all the computing power that's needed to, do AI is that it puts a drain on the power supply. AI data centers use massive amounts of water. When Americans learn that forest fires are out of control in Los Angeles, and they see that some Elon Musk data plant, some Elon Musk AI center uses a ton of water, they're going to get angry. They're especially going to, get angry when, the AI replaces their jobs at work. In my previous broadcast, I stated that I talked about how how companies are using AI to eliminate their human resource staff in subtle ways. They're not being honest about it in their financial reports thoroughly, at least. It seems like companies like IBM and and tech companies are using AI to reduce their expenses by getting rid of the HR department, which makes sense. The most important part of a company is not the HR aspect. You want the company to hire more managers. Um, I, I mean, it's like I own a domain name, dronethrust.com. I want to eventually start, a company with the drone thrust handle, and you could subscribe to that YouTube account. And I certainly, as a business owner, I would definitely use AI to grow the business and for advice. I mean, if I were like, let's say, going to do a realty, if I were going to use the drone to help realtors take pictures of houses, I would consult the AI to see, if what markets are in which markets is that a viable business plan, you know, but in order to have that AI, you've got to put an enormous amount of stress on the power grid. Oh, someone said something about windmills. Yeah, Trump promoted a theory that windmills are. This makes me laugh. He said that they're causing whales to beach themselves and die. Um, a marine biologist said that there's no evidence that that is happening. I believe that, um, you know, I wouldn't be so quick to rule that out, but I would stress that, yeah, there isn't any evidence that windmills are correlated with whales beaching themselves in increased numbers along the East Coast. But yet Trump does not like windmills. Trump, asked the Chinese president, how many windmills does he have? And the Chinese president, I'm not sure what he said, but yeah, Trump is, he hates windmills. I think they're ugly. I've seen them around where I live. They do tend to make a lot of noise, and I would suspect that they kill a lot of birds, which is unfortunate. I don't have direct evidence of that. I haven't really researched it. Yeah, windmills, I agree with Trump. They are ugly. In my opinion, the best way to solve America's energy crisis is through the contentious nuclear power method. I don't believe it's possible to have a country that is powered by AI without using nuclear energy. I believe that Trump has got to have a comprehensive nuclear power plant plan. In my opinion, I'm disappointed. Trump never said that we need to build, like 35 nuclear power plants. If Trump were to say, yes, we need 35 nuclear power plants all throughout America, then, I think he would say something that would attract a lot of business leaders to his cause. I don't think that coal is the answer. I do. I mean, I understand that coal employs a lot of people, but it seems like it's a well, there's a limited supply of it, and it pollutes the atmosphere. I mean, I just hope that they don't get rid of coal barbecues in New York City. In New York, I enjoy a hamburger cooked by coal a lot more than I enjoy over an electric grill. I just love the charcoal taste. Um, in New York State, they recently closed the nuclear power plant, Indian Point, and it resulted in the Mid Hudson region having like a $60 million extra power bill spread out over everybody since they closed that plant. There was no risk of an attack on that plant. They closed the plant, because of extremists, environmental extremists who don't even help the environment. And yeah, I know a lot of people don't like AI. A lot of people say there's a lot of danger with AI, like becoming like intelligent and creating escaped viruses that cause computers to crash. I mean, I'm open to those theories. I'm not an expert on machine learning. It does seem like that there is a probability that AI programs can become self-aware, and you realize that we humans are using them. They then can, try to break us. They could try to cause all kinds of problems. We don't know if the AI can ever be truly malevolent, but I tend to think that it is. I mean, in terms of AI, we've always had people using it since the age of Microsoft Excel. There's a lot of talk about investment firms using AI to pick stocks. Well, we long before AI came along, we had quant funds. Look up D.E. Shaw and Renaissance Technologies. Those people always used computer algorithms to pick their investments. They hire PhDs in mathematics from Stanford to comb over all of the market data and put their clients in the best stocks, long and short. So therefore, you could conclude that AI has always been around to help investors. Um, AI cannot substitute us. That's true. Um, I mean, it could substitute a lot of workers, though. I mean, as I say, with my company, Drone Thrust, I'm not going to hire like legions of accountants and human resource people if I could get an AI chatbot to do their job for free. I do think I could do that. I would love to start an AI hedge fund for myself. I mean, an AI hedge fund could make a fortune with minimal effort. I don't believe it's that difficult to use AI to pick stocks. You could probably get. I'm sure that there's going to be a financial chatbot that helps you read financial statements and makes investment advice just like an analyst does. That independent hedge fund managers like me potentially could use in order to get rich. Um, I believe that AI will be able to interpret medical scans, so you're not going to need a radiologist in the future, or you'll need fewer of them. Um, yeah, if Trump is smart, he would ignore Marjorie Taylor Greene's advice on AI and make it a national priority to make America the leader in AI. Um, yeah, my biggest fear is there is a Chinese AI company. I'm not off the top of my head, I forgot about it. But when you ask the Chinese AI company about Tiananmen Square, it says nothing. In reality, Tiananmen Square was an episode wherein the Chinese government massacred like 10,000 of its own dis- pe- people. Yeah, the Chinese government supposedly killed 10,000 people during Tiananmen Square during just mass shootings, because the people wanted to vote in their election and got tired of the hammer and sickle dominating the government. But the Chinese AI company Deep Sleek doesn't let the people hear anything about that, even in America. I mean, I'm curious as to what happens on TikTok if you talk about Tiananmen Square. Hopefully, Trump will be able to make a TikTok deal that puts TikTok into American hands. I now am of the conclusion that TikTok should be placed in the hands of an American company that controls the editorial. I do worry that the Chinese government might be using TikTok to inflate support for Hamas and Russia in Ukraine. I think that I don't believe that China would use TikTok in order to promote Maoism directly to us. China understands that Americans are consumeristic. The China Xi Jinping knows that Americans are not as extreme as he is on issues such as, Mao Zedong, being a hero. He'll never use TikTok to promote Mao Zedong. What he'll use TikTok to do is to promote extremists on both sides. You know, he would probably spend a lot of time using TikTok to undermine Americans' confidence in police in ways that are subtle. The CEO of TikTok testified before Congress, and he basically said that it wasn't possible for him to describe what TikTok did as spying. And that comment did make me nervous. When the CEO of TikTok admits that TikTok acted on the behalf of the Chinese government, that scares me. But do I want to ban TikTok? No. TikTok is a very popular medium. Uh, TikTok is used by millions of Americans every day. Unfortunately, I don't believe that TikTok is the best source of content. On TikTok, it seems to me like you have a lot of people doing stunts that are very dangerous that cause people to get killed. I'm sure I know that when you do a Google search, you see that people got killed doing a stunt on TikTok that was ridiculous in order to get clicks. But that's just the nature of social media. I mean, TikTok obviously promotes the notion that people should hang out in the gym and have like huge muscles. That could cause people actually to uh, think it could cause many like eating disorders with girls. It seems like the first thing you see when you look at TikTok, isn't some political rant. It's some girl in a bikini, from Australia prancing around on the beach. I do think that that probably does create a lot of, eating disorders in America. New York City recently, like 6 months ago, New York City declared a public health crisis over social media. I mean, in New York City, you have people surfing trains, disrespecting cops, and doing all kinds of terrible things in order to get attention on TikTok. And I do believe that this interconnected world is something that Americans are having a hard time growing into. When I was young, we never had the internet. When I was young, people used to hang out with each other. Now people everybody's trying to be an influencer that gets like a $30,000 a month, check from the company, including myself. I mean, I certainly am trying to be a big influencer, and I'm not hiding that. Um, and I think it is. I'm curious as to how Donald Trump is going to deal with the TikTok issue via China. Congress banned TikTok, but Trump keeps giving TikTok, like monthly extensions in order to negotiate some type of deal with trade via the Chinese. And it seems to me like Trump is again, inflating his power as president by not enforcing the TikTok ban. I mean, I certainly think that the president has to enforce the TikTok ban if the Chinese continue to hold it over our heads as leverage for tariffs. I do believe that the Chinese government is going to invade Taiwan. Unfortunately, I definitely. Did you see the images on the Drudge Report with the Chinese tank boats. I mean, it's clear that China only needs tank boats to take Taiwan. I don't know how we're going to trade with China and allow them to operate social media websites like TikTok and AI services like DeepSeek, when they start invading Taiwan. That's a line that I do predict they're going to cross. I mean, Xi Jinping clearly stated that he was going to take Taiwan, before he dies. So, what's going on in Gaza? Uh, in Gaza, there's a tragic scenario. I want to just like be honest about what's happening. Yeah, there's a lot of suffering there, and yeah, Trump is angry at Netanyahu. I just wish that Hamas would release the hostages. I think that if the hostages were released, then everything, the problem would go away for the next, 5 years. It doesn't seem like Hamas, you know, wants to release the hostages. Um, it seems to me like the Israeli-Palestinian issue is an issue that won't ever go away. It doesn't seem like it's solvable. Christopher Hitchens is like one of my favorite thinkers, and yeah, he was of the view that Israel should give back some land to the Palestinians, in order to try to make peace. I'm not sure that that would result in peace. It seems to me like when you analyze the Israeli-Palestinian issue, you come to the conclusion that giving land to the Palestinians doesn't necessarily bring peace. I don't know how to solve that issue, though. So, what else is new with Donald Trump? I'm going to be. Here's another reason why I'm against tariffs. I think that tariffs are a boon for organized crime. If you look at the Canadian border, you're going to realize that it's one of the vastest borders, in the world. Um, with a 15% tariff, it seems to me like smugglers can make a fortune smuggling luxury goods that they purchase from Canada and selling them on eBay. It seems to me like the only limit, you know, I mean, I just wouldn't like make millions of dollars smuggling Louis Vuitton handbags from Canada because I think that the IRS has safeguards in place in order to prevent smuggling profiteers. I just see no point in Trump's 15% tariffs because it seems like it's going to create the nuisance industry of people smuggling all kinds of things across the Canadian border, at night. It's they say that you could smuggle over the lakes. No one's really patrolling the Canadian border to see if smugglers are bringing in like casks of whiskey or uh, drones. You could smuggle car parts across the Canadian border. There should be zero tariffs, in my opinion, between the United States, Canada, and Europe. I think that Trump is wrong in that respect, and I think that when Canada imposes taxes on American goods, I mean, except for like tobacco and alcohol, I think they're doing themselves a disservice. I'm a free trader. Republicans need to get back to the age of being libertarians. Republicans have become a party that wants to regulate everything you do. Um, in Texas, they're trying to ban sports gambling apps. I mean, I think that it's impossible to prevent people from gambling if they want to, and that when you ban sports gambling apps, you end up creating all types of problems. But that being said, America also is a society that's being afflicted by addiction. People are turning to marijuana. People are losing fortunes on sports gambling apps. I've seen there was a 60 Minutes episode wherein people just talked about how men are spending way too much money gambling on sports apps, and they're losing entire fortunes. I mean, it's easy to see how uh, somebody could do that. It's like I can't predict who's going to win the Yankee and Met games. They're tough games to predict. There are injuries and flare ups. Like sometimes a great team will do poorly, and sometimes a low ranked team like the Colorado Rockies will just will just crush the Yankees or Mets, despite the fact that obviously the Yankees and Mets are better than the Rockies. And my point is that perhaps the Republicans are correct to want to put some regulations on AI. The more I think about it, no, they're correct to want to put more regulations on sports gambling. Yeah, I used the wrong term. A lot of times I form my opinions about things as I think. It's like I sit here and I weigh my opinions on gambling, and I will come to the different conclusions the more I think about it. I do know somebody who I think lost a lot of money with gambling apps. He went to the bank in order to clear out something, and all the money went missing. So yeah, we have a national crisis in America of men like me who think that they could make hundreds of thousands of dollars per month on sports gambling apps. If you go to Fenway Park, you're going to see that there's a BetMGM advertisement on the Green Monster. I think that's just tasteless, in my opinion. I don't think that baseball teams should encourage their fans to bet on the results. If players get caught gambling, they're banned from the league for life. But how do they enforce bans on baseball players throwing games? I mean, it seems like it's easy to do that if you know what you're doing. All right, so Trump has waffled on Ukraine to the point of getting thousands of Ukrainian soldiers killed every day. I think that was the biggest disaster of Trump's presidency. For Trump to believe that he could trust Putin and we're going to get some kind of ceasefire, that's crazy. Trump should not have given the Russians 50 days to come up with a ceasefire plan because they're using the 50 days in order to push ever deeper into Ukrainian territory with their barbaric human wave attacks. When the Russians come to town, what they do is have like a bunch of guys with rifles point their rifles at the other guys' heads, and they tell the stormers to just take the town. And there are towns in Ukraine that are being overwhelmed with tens of thousands of Russian soldiers who come from the prisons across the country and even from other countries. And they're overwhelming their towns with savage psychopaths. I mean, the Russian army is the most brutal, depraved army we've seen in a very long time. Russian barbarism, for me, is shocking. I've studied the history books, and I haven't seen a more angry group of barbarians than the current Russians in a long time. I mean, you'd have to go back to the Second World War to find that. But unfortunately, in America and Europe, we see people waving Palestinian flags. The key issue of our time is not, in my opinion, the war in Gaza. It's the war in Ukraine. I'm very frustrated when I see uh, Instagrammers I know who are based in Europe posting a free Palestine flag. Not because I wish ill on the people in Gaza. I think that Europe has to have a national movement of being pro-Ukraine. There are just not enough demonstrations in Europe wherein people wave the Ukrainian flag and do anti-Russian chants. I believe that Europe has to have uh, a national mission to evict the Russians from Ukraine and Georgia. I think that Euromaidan should have been, popularized to the youths of Europe. I mean, it just seems like young people in Europe are way too inclined to wave a Palestinian flag when they don't need to. Um, I believe, I guess that's my criticism of the left. When Putin decided to start plundering Ukraine, you did not see people at Cornell University and Columbia University really making a stink about it to the extent that they should have. Uh, but however, when Israel destroyed all of the buildings in Gaza, yeah, then they started to make a stink. I mean, despite the fact that Putin killed like 60,000 people in Mariupol when he shelled it, it didn't seem to me like the universities in America were protesting that. You saw some celebrities start. Some celebrities came out against it. Taylor Swift said absolutely nothing. When Mariupol was being shelled to oblivion, Taylor was giving a speech at New York University, um, and said nothing about it. She said more about the George Floyd killing than she said about the destruction of Mariupol. She complained more. She bragged about her opposition to the Iraq War during her Miss Americana uh, Netflix special. I mean, obviously, Taylor Swift has political advisors. It's obvious that Taylor Swift did not believe that it was ever necessary to make a comment about the Ukraine. Taylor has never given a dime's worth of charity money in public to the millions of Ukrainians who desperately need it. I think that America needs to have a national campaign to force Taylor Swift to uh, talk about what she thinks about the Ukraine war and why she didn't feel the need to talk about it during her award of an NYU degree. I mean, the crowd in NYU was cheering her on, and she said nothing about the most important event that is going on, in the world. If I were there, I would have booed her. I would have said, I would have shouted that she doesn't deserve an award, an honorary degree, if she can't talk about important events that are going on in the world, such as the invasion of Ukraine. I mean, why? She bragged in her documentary, Miss Americana, about her support for the Dixie Chicks during their fight with the Bush administration over the Iraq War. Um, but to have nothing to say about Putin's invasion of Ukraine, I think was a moment of shame for her. A lot of college professors teach courses about Taylor Swift, in America. It would be nice if they would teach that, Taylor's politics are often just self-serving. She has some genuine, belief systems, such as, for legal, abortion rights, as you would expect from her. But, Taylor, despite the fact that she actually is heavily politically active, she has made endorsements for a president, for Congress. She endorsed two Congress people. Obviously, she didn't like Marsha Blackburn. um, uh, Taylor hated Marsha Blackburn, but had nothing to say about the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and I think that makes her a coward. She should apologize for that. I mean, if you know how to contact her, you should confront her about why she says nothing about Ukraine. Um, so yes, and let's talk more about AI now. On the AI front, the movie studios are suing AI companies like Grok that let you generate images of their characters. They're going after some company, I think called Odyssey. Warner Brothers is involved in a lawsuit, and Disney against an AI company that lets you generate deep fakes of their copyrighted characters. I think that if an AI company charges money to generate deep fakes of copyrighted characters, then they probably can be sued. You know, it seems to me like whenever you hold a trademark and a copyright on your image, people are not allowed to exploit that other than you for commercial profit. I mean, I use AI to create deep fakes of movie characters all the time, and I post them on YouTube. I would like for one of my presentations to be used as evidence in the court trial. On my other channel at Drone Thrust, I did a PowerPoint presentation of how ChatGPT and Grok lets you use your inputs to generate images of copyrighted characters. I didn't get that many hits on it, but now that Warner Brothers is finally suing to prevent an AI from generating these copyrighted images, I think perhaps I'm going to get famous, and you might see that I'm going to be as big as MrBeast in the future. Yes, you're going to find that, yes, drone thrust and controversial quotes will be as big as MrBeast and PewDiePie. What do I think of MrBeast? I find that MrBeast does videos that are either boring or offensive. MrBeast went to the sacred ruins in Mexico and used them as an opportunity to huckster his MrBeast candy bars. MrBeast also did like a workout video where he showed how he was able to get fit. But when you look at his MrBeast's chocolate bars, you see that they have like 600 calories, per bar. It's obvious that I'm not going to achieve my goal of getting into fit shape. If I eat too many Feastables. Yes, MrBeast was successful at getting his lunchly uh, his lunch Lunchables competitor into Walmart. I was surprised to see that a Walmart I frequent has Lunchly next to the Lunchables. I think that that was a phenomenal achievement for him. I believe that MrBeast is a very smart businessman. But I was disappointed when he went to the ruins in Mexico and used his time there to try to promote a candy bar. And then he even joked about stealing the ruins. Obviously, you could go to jail for a long time if you steal something from an archaeology site in Latin America. I wouldn't even joke about that. And his tour guide yelled at him over it. Um, and I thought it was, offensive for him to use the ruins to promote the candy bars because the ruins are like a cemetery. They are a cemetery. Um, the I believe that the ruins, the pyramids in Mexico, obviously hold, you know, sacred significance for a lot of people there, and for America's top YouTuber to use that as an opportunity to huckster candy bars, again, I'm going to say that that was offensive, and he should know better. I also wish that MrBeast would create candy bars that are more healthy. I mean, it would be nice to see if MrBeast could create you know, some meal kits that could, help people, you know, get into shape rather than, make them into couch potatoes. Uh, yeah. Yeah, Mr. Beast obviously has like 400 million followers. He's on Twitter. He got into trouble because it seems like he did some poverty tourism in Africa. There's the issue of wealthy people traveling to Africa and throwing money at people who are starving is controversial. A lot of people call it like poverty tourism. Uh, Mr. Beast set up like a bunch of wells in Kenya in order to give the people water. I think that's nice. I can't fault him for it, but there's a contrary view to that that I respect. And there are a lot of people who believe that, poverty tourism in Africa that doesn't really do anything to benefit the poor. Some people think that we need a different approach towards helping, you know, the poor in Africa, besides, having an American go there and hand out money and, then create a documentary about it for which he gets paid. That I think is silly. Well, that's a controversy, and I'm not sure that he. I think a lot of people have criticism of Mr. Beast that is very legitimate, and I mean, it would be nice if Mr. Beast would go 60 Minutes and, explain away his controversies regarding poverty tourism and using cemeteries to promote candy bars. That's what I think about Mr. Beast. But I think he's a great visionary. All right, so what else is going on in the business world? Oh, the meme stocks are back. Coles had an episode where it became popular to invest in Coles again, and the stock went up 100% in one day. Um, uh, Coles is a heavily shorted stock. It's a great company, but the last time I was there, I noticed that it didn't really. Well, I don't want to talk negatively about Coles. I mean, they have some good stuff there. I just wish they had more good stuff. I'll put it that way. I'm not, but if I would encourage you to shop there because I don't want them to go out of business. They're only like $1 billion company. So yeah, but so recently there was an episode where the stock of Kohl's mysteriously went up 100% in one day. And as and somebody who has a lot of money in the stock market, that makes me nervous. Does it makes me nervous that my fund manager will chase a soaring stock and then lose a lot of money the next day when it craters back to earth. Um, Meme stocks caused a lot of people to lose money with GameStop. If you look at the stock chart of GameStop, you'll see that it flew up to unsustainable levels and then came cratering back down. People went on Reddit and decided to start pushing up the share price of GameStop. Yeah, and they did this with other stocks, like Kohl's is obviously one, Research in Motion. I've heard them do it with the cinema stocks. I mean, I'm not sure even if the cinema stocks are in business. I heard that one of the theater chains went bankrupt a while back. But I mean, it does seem like you can go on like Reddit and look for the next potential meme stock. I wouldn't I wouldn't try to use this channel to generate buzz around the stock, because I wouldn't want to like get censored. I mean, I'm just talking about the issue, and I'm not giving advice. Um, but I do find it interesting that the stock of a company like Kohl's can go up 100% in one day on no news. Um, I wonder if that's going to happen more in the future. I mean, it seems like you have large groups of investors that target. Well, there's always on Wall Street there was always the issue of large groups of investors targeting highly shorted stocks in order to get a short squeeze out of them. What you saw with Kohl's, could have also just been a short squeeze. A lot of funds a lot of funds, I would assume, were probably short of coals and, wanted to take their profits in order to invest in something else. Um, yes, so let's go back to AI. Will AI replace the music industry? I've heard that like 9 out of 10 bands are AI. They uh, it's easy now to use AI to generate a song. And because of that, I believe that, you know, more Americans, I have used UDO to create AI music. I was surprised at the quality. I genuinely thought that I was able to extract high quality songs from UDO. I mean, despite the fact that there was some censorship, it did seem like maybe I'm going to put on a song I did. AI music has no copyright, so I mean, YouTube isn't going to strike me down for this. I want to play you an AI song and see what you think. All right, so I'm going to where it is. All right, so it's going to come up soon. All right, I just have to get through the commercials. I'm looking on a website where I stored it. Do you like this song? This song is all AI. Yeah, this is an AI country song. This is all right. Let me turn it down. Yes, that is an AI country song I created on UDO called "Look What I Done Did." I think it's a good song. All right, guys. I think I'm going to close out this broadcast. Thank you for watching today. I'll be back tonight.